Hey, welcome to Startups with PayU. Today we have Abhishek, the co-founder of EVeez with us. Hey, Abhishek, welcome.
Hello, hi.
Glad that you made it this early in the morning. And I heard that there's just traffic problems in Bangalore are quite a menace. And that too at this hour. How was it coming here?
Now, yeah, that's I guess pretty much a daily routine, and I hope things are getting better. But it's also related to the season. Lot of rains happening, and this is peak hour. So
Yeah, and then I mean you're in the mobility space, so I just wanted to start with understanding what inspired you, because from what I know about your journey and when you started, EVs weren't really a thing. EV bikes or infrastructure in India did not exist. I just want to start with what was your inspiration when you were growing up? Was it you were telling me earlier that your family or your father's in the Air Force? Was that an inspiration? Is that how you started tinkering with the space? What was it like growing up?
I guess definitely growing up, I was like grew up in the India of 90s, which shows like Turning Point, The World This Week, and resources were less. So it was always that you have to figure out things on your own.
Hmm?
That was always sometimes posted in some remote locations where, very basic thing that, that molecules expand. It's a very simple logic that everybody would know. But then, the basic thing that my teacher said, ki, go and observe your mother doing the chapati.
Mm.
And do you know why does it flow, blow up, and that logic. And then he took a small, light bulb, those old, tungsten bulbs that we used to have, cut it and put a balloon over it.
Mhm.
And then, so that because it was all figuring out through resources. Often we call it jugaad, but I still say that it is about ability to work with limited resources. How do you make most of it?
Mhm.
That is something that is very much ingrained into my thought process. That if there is, I read somebody has that obstacle is the way.
Yeah.
So somebody had a tattoo which actually read obstacle is the way. So I definitely identify with that. That if there is a space or something you like, I'm sure there is a lot of ways to work around that thing. So that is something that has kept me, going all this while, whether it was working with wool workers in Kutch or EVs or any other space or water ATMs for that
No,
matter.
fantastic. We'll touch upon all of that. I just
Yeah.
wanted to, in fact, what you were telling me just before we started,
Yeah.
something very interesting in terms of how you moved around various parts of the country, how so many things inspired you, how you became an engineer by choice, which becomes very obvious from how your mindset about expanding molecules and the tungsten bulb is. But what was the inspiration, let's say, when you were growing up around the country? Was there something that you're picking up every time you lived in a different city? Was that something that prompted you to create things on your own or see problems of different regions?
So something that I often quote, and definitely was in the environment, because we were living in a defense enclosures and space in a quarters, and so a lot of community activities were happening.
Mm.
We were setting up. I'm not sure if a lot of people will relate to it. We were setting up these comic libraries.
Mm.
So if you are sector 1 or sector 2, so sector 1, all kids will have all those Nagraj or Raj comics or Tintins or Akis, whatever we would have. We had our own community. So I would have the edition 3, someone would have edition 4. So we would rent it out, pick it up from somebody else, give it back. So that sort of a community building, sharing, those things definitely, I still see them as a very core value to whatever I wish to pursue further. One very, I often feel a lot of people neglect this one particular subject we had in school, which is called SUPW.
Mhm.
It had a very wonderful name, Socially Useful Project Work, which was anybody who studied in Kendriya Vidyalaya would understand this course, which was about making, projects, small projects that you would make along with your friends. Like, how do you make a small aquarium or a, prototype of an aquarium using a shoebox?
Mm.
So
Got it.
what
That's
can
very interesting. How did you do that?
So exactly, that's what's the thing. So had a shoebox, what do you like? So the queries were, how do you make the basic thing at that time. It was very, I mean, I'm sure still it is very relevant that we would say make best from waste. So if you got a shoebox, what will you make out of it? You can use it as a storage. One of the things that it clicked me that let's make it aquarium, hang the fish, cutting the fish, not all the the kind of the lanterns or lighting that you get now in Diwali wasn't all available.
No, that's
So
fantastic. In fact, I mean, it's clear. I mean, two things that sort of come out clearly, that you were always creating things and you wanted to be an engineer, much like what every engineer says, that I was an accidental engineer. So you were very intentional as an engineer.
yes, that
And
it was.
and then you went on to study at National Institute of Design.
Yes.
You gave me a lot of maxims yesterday when we were speaking about design. It'll be great to start with that. But how was that journey from being an engineer to going to design, and how did that shape up what EVeez is today?
So, in very brief, what that my thought is about engineering is engineering a lot about efficiency.
Yeah.
Like all we engineers, whether it's an electronic engineer or a mechanical engineer, we're always trying to achieve maximum efficiency from a product. While doing that, I also somewhere in my journey, while I was also traveling, because even there was a overnight distance between my maternal parents. Also, all the summer vacation we had to travel overnight in trains from southeast of Uttar Pradesh to northeast of Bihar, and crossing all of that region. So seeing a lot of things, that was posted in multiple spaces. So we used to collect those colored. So while looking at all these objects, one thing I just realized is that how am I able to create a major impact, just not at efficiency? And if I am looking at impact, and that is what I personally felt as that design is as a discipline gives you that scope to build impact. And that was my thought to join National Institute of Design. And again, that helped me a lot during my education there, building my core thought process or my belief system into design, how it can impact, and then picking up various projects from a little from a perspective which is a little on prior to the thought, or like from the intent of any project. That is where design has helped me. And if I look at EVeez as a company as of now, is the core idea is that we as a company still focus on mobility, be it be for anybody. Gig workers definitely are our biggest customer base right now, but we offer it to anyone, even to college students, or say somebody who's working as a dog walker. So that's why. So that's why, again, like yesterday we were discussing, like design is all about subtraction. So how do you reach to the bare minimum? So EVeez is at the start as well. What we were discussing is it's EVeez made easy.
EVeez made easy. I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's how the name came in.
No, it's fantastic. So you went from creating things at Kendriya Vidyalaya to becoming an intentional engineer and creating more things. And you said that you chose mechanical because you wanted to build vehicles and you wanted to build stuff. And then from there on, going to the subtraction journey and learning design to EVeez. EVeez made easy. That's fantastic. I mean, now I see the journey of being inspired at various stages in your academic career to then starting this. But from what I remember and what we were discussing, EVeez did not really start as a very intentional large company in the EV space that you wanted to start. It in fact, a friend of ours who introduced us sent me your number, and it said it was still stored as Abhishek Let's Play. Tell me about that. How did the journey of EV start, and why was it called Let's Play?
Okay, so my co-founder Gaurav, he's more into, I am more into, so we both, the reason that we both connect well, we've been working on quite a few projects previously as well, but we both love travel. While he still loves to travel on cycles, I'm still sticking to motorcycles. He was traveling somewhere in Europe, and that's when first time he had hired an electric cycle, a bicycle, and he could cross Alps at a much faster pace and without any effort. So we were like, when he came back, he just called me about, this is fun. And he's like, this is such a good thing, and like this is a product and this kind of a technology that we should bring to India.
Which year was this? Sorry.
It would be around 8-9 years, I think, 2017, 16, 17.
Okay, 16, 17.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's when he was the first. He first time went. He called me up, and I was doing some other projects, and then we got together. We said the product is great, and you could still. I mean, I could relate to when first I'm seeing that, when I could see the same gladness when I could see my customers coming back after doing the cycling in Manali.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yes. So Gaurav was that enthusiastic at that point, and Abhishek, you just try this bicycle. And then we started looking for the products that are available in India. So luckily in Ahmedabad, there was a company which was making a product like that.
This was a company that was manufacturing cycles and putting some throttle or an EV battery on it.
On an EV battery.
Okay.
So the company 100% was making electric cycles only. A cycle which has a motor and a throttle and this thing and a pedal assist system, that was. So when you pedal, you get a little bit of an assist, so you can pedal more.
Fair enough.
Far enough. That's when we thought, and that's exactly what was the translation, that he did it in the hills, and we also started our first center was in Manali. And
interesting.
Because we were very happy and we wanted to bring in something which was fun, and that's why we said, let's play. So that's how the name came in, as Let's Play. And so new ways to explore is what we had as a tagline, that this is what will give people an opportunity to, again, pollution has always been a concern, and Manali was suffering a lot. NGT had put a lot of restrictions. So for our customers also, it became a very easy, if anybody who wanted to cycle, you don't need any permissions, anything to go on top of Rohtang Pass or anything. There was no regulation. You can just climb up to Rohtang.
Otherwise you need permissions to go to Rohtang Pass.
And all. So that was also, people started picking up these vehicles, and for them as well, it was a little bit of an achievement or a milestone that, I could actually cycle in the hills, though assisted, but definitely it takes effort.
Absolutely.
So they were very happy, and when they would come back to the shop, and the kind of enthusiasm they would have, or the kind of gladness they would had on their face, and they would be like, oh my God, I mean, and they would come back and say, oh, can I take it for tomorrow as well? Tomorrow I have another city, another hill to climb, or another this thing. So that was there. And then from there, we grew to multiple cities. Jaipur was definitely an obvious choice. Rishikesh, Goa. So that's where the journey started. We had grown to 5-6 cities, and we were doing well. And in the same time, we got some of our friends from Zomato suggested, why don't you give these vehicles to our gig workers? The cycles are definitely in demand. And while we were transitioning, COVID started.
But just before we get to the transition, I want to stick to the Let's Play part for a bit.
Sure.
So when you started, let's say, Gaurav cycling in the Alps, and he discovers this bike with some throttle and some assist, and he thinks, let's bring it to India. What was the first, how many bikes did you start with in Manali? What was the first day like? Who do you remember the first customer?
Oh yeah. So yes, we did enough or more research to find out which is the bicycle that we want, because multiple bicycles were there. But we definitely, since we were looking at the tourist crowd, we wanted the bicycle to look good, the colors to be really attractive, so that people feel riding the bicycle. It doesn't look. So that is something that we were very conscious about. So I think the first lot that we procured was around 10 bicycles. And that is the first shop we started off in Manali. It was pure shutter, like shutter up. Day zero was you have to pull out the shutter. I was stationed in Manali, and while Gaurav was handling a lot of other things, he was constantly visiting, but I was stationed in Manali, and we started on the Earth Day, 22nd of April.
Interesting. 22nd of April 2018.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So this is when we started, and I still remember Akhil was our first customer.
Are you still in touch? Who was he?
We are connected on Instagram. He was an engineering graduate who was very keen on photography, hill photography, and he looked at it, and he was cycling enthusiast. But that is the first time we also realized. Then when he came back and gave us the feedback, boss, he was the first person who said, I'll come back tomorrow again.
And he was there on a trip. He was just there for a few days.
He was there for a few days. He wanted to explore. He wanted to see around the city. And then this is the first thing that he saw. His words. I found the bicycles very attractive. The orange was
Mhm.
the core color that we constantly maintained there.
And that's how the EV's color.
EV's
okay.
color, the colors of Let's Play and EVs are still the
Okay.
same. We just did a bit of a tweak here and there, but the colors remain the same. So that was, he said, I really like the bike which I could get. And then he cycled around. He clicked a lot of pictures. I guess our first post from Let's Play is also, I think, one of the pictures he only clicked.
Mhm.
A lot of pictures that he has clicked were used by us. So he is the first, and he liked the entire journey. And then when he came back, he told me a lot of stories, a lot of feedback. Obviously, first time, entrepreneur. I mean, first time a new business that we were starting, and we wanted to get all sorts of feedback that we want from him. How was the journey? Where did you face any? And range anxiety was the first thing that we wanted to understand from him, which he did not get. He came at almost more, 20% or more battery remaining in the vehicle. And I think the most encouraging thing was that I'll come again tomorrow.
No, that's always like a repeat customer. The first customer is a repeat customer.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. So then, I mean, we'll talk about, you touched upon something very, very interesting in range anxiety. We'll come to that. We'll cover
Yeah.
EVs in detail because something that we're very, very keen on understanding better, especially in this conversation. But on that, going from Akhil and then the 10 bikes to then Jaipur, is it still Let's Play or has it now graduated to becoming EVeez, the company that works for Zomato? What was that phase and how much time did that take?
So we were constantly running the entire business. So Jaipur, as I said, Jaipur, Goa, Rishikesh, Beer Billing, were the cities, Mukteshwar. These are the cities that we expanded our business to. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, the tourism sector took quite a toll, and we had to wrap up entire operations. And typical engineer, I would not let the machine go wasted. So we still utilize those machines in the initial phase of EVs, because at that point in time, a lot of riders like Zomato were using electric vehicles. We were giving them the cycles to use for various mobility objectives. However, the demand did shift from cycles towards scooters, and so
for like a longer distance.
for a
and like,
longer distance, and something that we personally believed in is appreciation from the rider. So if somewhere they always felt that the machine should also add a value to their own profile. So not that typically I use a cycle
yeah,
for my
fair enough.
office.
Fair enough.
That's fair. So that's why we shifted towards scooter, which are like the properly built scooters. And that is the space that we touched upon. And slowly, yes, Let's Play is now has help is on hold to exist. Definitely a scope where we constantly get calls where people still want our vehicles in that scenario. So now, since we are growing to multiple cities, I'm sure that will also come back.
Got you. That's fascinating. In fact, so it was sort of COVID that forced that transition, or would you have in the stage of growth anyway gone to doing more commercial, because now it's gone from travel bike to 10 enthusiasts in Manali to becoming a commercial operation? That would have anyway happened, or COVID sort of fastened that journey?
COVID fastened that journey, or gave a bigger, so everybody was thinking to how do we pivot, or how do we enhance whatever is our offering. So that's when we decided, that while almost for a year there was not much travel happening, and this deliveries had started to pick up. So the focus shifted towards delivery. Was a natural shift, but obviously COVID was the biggest impact. No question.
Understood. Now, by this time, you had started something in EVeez, which was a subscription-based model, from what I understand.
Yes.
And most of the EVs, I mean, at that point in time, or even still, India has 20 crore two-wheelers. It probably, most of it today is fuel, and not on EV. Range anxiety is very real. We'll speak about that only 25,000 probably charging stations versus say 90,000 petrol stations and so on. And in the places that you're starting, Manali and other places, range anxiety could be very, very real. But did you find that you were very early when you started with in this space because there weren't enough EVs in the country, subscription model hadn't picked up for this, and that infrastructure that needed to exist for you to be able to make this into a commercial operation was all a challenge? How did you navigate all of these?
So definitely, like whatever you stated was true at that point in time, but this also gave us a scope that there is opportunity to explore. There is a market there that requires, there is a demand for mobility which is much more affordable. So that's an, and while we shifted towards subscription because at that given point in time and even now, EVs are expensive. So for anybody and especially a gig worker, the upfront cost is very high.
Yeah.
So the subscription model made more sense for them. So the adoption was much more faster. Whoever we could offer, definitely the number of vehicles were lesser, and so we were able to constantly cater to the demand at that point in time, and that still goes on. As in now, when we go to a new city, where there is not much of a subscription, we get that sort of a pull.
Understood. So subscription absolutely makes sense because the upfront cost is very high for a gig worker. But for a gig worker, the time of delivery, the kind of efficiency that they need, because every time a bike is getting charged, he's losing some revenue, some delivery time. And range anxiety is still very, very real. And you're talking about many years ago when it was probably much worse than what it is today. How did that play out for you?
So one that we realized on given whatever the opportunity scope that is there, we realized that swapping is a very definitive answer to the gig space scope that we want to work in, especially in the tier 1 and the tier 2 cities that we are offering our services for the gig workers. So we place our bets on the swapping because it is faster. And for the rider as well, there is a concern is that a lot of time they live also in certain humble spaces. They might not have access to a charging point. Just not the charging infrastructure, but charging at their home as well.
Yeah.
Because they are living in a shared accommodation, the landlords might not allow, because even now, not everybody knows how much energy does a battery consume.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they might not be allowed. So for them, it is much more easier to move to a swapping network. It is much more faster. Definitely fast charging is an alternative, should grow, but currently and in the given near future, swapping is the most viable option that is available, and we have placed most of our bets on that, and that also goes with our current engagement with Indofast, which is constantly been increasing, where we are trying to put in another 20,000 vehicles on their network. So for now and for very imminent near future, we feel swapping is the best answer for all the energy and the range concerns that the riders have.
That's a fantastic point that you mentioned. In fact, I have been looking at this space for a bit, and I was looking at how would you make this ubiquitous, right? Like everyone, I'd written about this recently that I'd buy my next vehicle as an EV, and everyone spoke about that 40% of the cost is going to get added when you have to replace the battery. So Mahindra comes with a lifetime warranty now, or 10 years, 2 lakh kilometers. There are many such things that they offer, but swapping still isn't really a very real option from what I know, and I'd love to get some education on that one, because from what I understand, let's say Sun Mobility, which has about 600 stations, most of them in fact in Delhi NCR, is probably the biggest player in the space, but that's probably the best way for someone to make it as close to fuel as possible. Otherwise, you would probably need about 2 to 3 million EV stations if you were to charge, because the time taken versus fuel is, let's say, 15x, right? I mean, 2 minutes versus a 30-minute, even with fast charging. So is there enough swapping infrastructure today that you see that exists for you to be able to run this more as efficiently as you would like?
So also, yes, there is enough and more, especially in the cities like metros like Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Bombay, Kolkata, the bigger cities where, even say city like Vijayawada, the infrastructure is there. That's one. Number two is like, you actually don't spend 2 minutes in refueling your car or your motorcycle. That's the stats that come from the petrol bunk. You enter a station, you're in a queue.
Fair enough. Fair point. Yeah.
If you compare the time consumed is at a swapping station is at par. Uh, also the fact is that while most of us fueling our machine is not is indeed needed for us to keep us moving to our other avenues, but it's not the core of our our work profile. While for a gig worker, like they know that these are the hours when there will be lesser rush, they adapt. And that's a behavioral change that we've been seeing, that a lot of swaps happen early morning, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, because
Got
that
it.
is the time when they start going for a big basket delivery, which is early morning deliveries that you have to do, or baby now delivery that they have to do. So those things have also changed. So
Understood.
peak hours. So yes.
So they're also timing their swaps accordingly so that there's no wait time, and then that battery runs for them for the day.
Yeah.
And but help me understand most of this in Delhi NCR, and you
Yes.
mentioned that you keep going there twice a month. Around this time, especially, the battery would heat up, and probably the life of a battery or even the charge of it will get affected. And how would you tackle that? From what I understand, during that time, it's best that you take the battery back, cool it, put a battery that's already at a decent temperature, and then run that. Have you started facing that challenge? Because you've been running this for a few years. I'm sure you've seen 1 or 2 summers already.
Yes, we did. So this is a genuine concern, and that is the mode you said. Like you first have to cool down the battery before you put it on charge, and this is where the technology like a Sun Mobility comes into picture. So now you have all the chargers which will not start charging a battery immediately.
Yeah.
So they are smart chargers, and if you look at a Sun Mobility swap station, they have a cooling system.
Yeah.
So once you put in the battery, it's not that it immediately goes to charging. So technology at the right space. So a swap station is again engineering efficiency. Like a swap station is one space where you can manage it. Like a single station with the cooling that they have can manage the cooling of 15 to 16 batteries at one go.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So then you're not dependent on independently everybody taking out a battery, waiting for some time, and then letting it cool. So it happens on their own, which is not the user's responsibility. He only has to put in a battery and take out the battery which he's which is charged.
Got it.
The rest part of it, which is not a very which does not require any kind of a human intervention.
Understood. But also, do you face a challenge? Just last question to understand this a little better.
Yes.
You also see a little bit of a challenge in terms of interoperability of batteries across OEMs. Would you, say that it now has gotten standardized at least for two-wheelers, and it can be swapped with any battery from any OEM?
Yes. So this is a challenge this is something that we have grown upon. Definitely, this wasn't the case earlier, because every OEM needed a kind of a battery, and that battery was definitely different, 48 volts, 60 volts, or different voltages that they were operating on. So somewhere there is a standardization, and that again, this is where battery as a service, as a independent module, or fuel for that matter, for the entire EV ecosystem, being an independent module of the machine. So the vehicle is independent of the fuel. That aspect has now grown, and so that's why whoever, like say, if any other battery service provider that I pick up the vehicles from, so now all the battery sizes, the battery chemistry and the battery voltages are somehow becoming standardized. The connectors are becoming standardized, so that interoperability becomes much and more, is more accessible now, and it's more the efficiency of the machine is more achieved.
And is there work that companies like yourselves are doing with government in terms of standardizing this through maybe policy norms, or working across OEMs to say that at least let's get swapping is a real option, and probably as close to fueling and then reducing range anxiety, or even the cost for that matter, because especially in the commercial use where EVs are mostly today, anytime that you're charging its opportunity cost for the person who's not operating the vehicle is there work that the government is doing or yourselves are doing with OEMs to standardize battery interoperability?
We are working with the OEMs. Definitely, we are working with the OEMs on standardizing the sizes, the connectors, and often even the OEMs also understand that this is the kind of demand space that we are working in, or there is a higher demand of this kind of a standard battery size or a standard battery chemistry or a connector, as well as the government for the MHI definitely is taking keen interest at various levels, organizing conferences and taking the feedback from fleet operators like us, from battery service providers or OEMs, to ensure that there is a clear cut for policy framework which is enabling them for ensuring that interoperability becomes a real time thing.
Perfect. I mean, in fact, on that one, just if you were to gaze into or maybe drop an idea here for startups who are planning to at least be in the EV infra space, there are a lot of companies that are coming into EV charging.
Yes.
And then there are a lot of companies that are trying to, get into battery swapping. You said that battery swapping is probably where you would place your bets right now. Sun Mobility is one such startup, and not really a startup. It's probably with the, the father of EVeez, Mr. Mani would probably be the first one you would think about. He got into EVs about 30 years ago when Reva started, and he also places his bets on swapping. So would you say that is some space that most founders and most companies that are trying to build in the infra space of EVs should focus on, and how should they solve for it? How should they go about it?
Definitely, EV swapping is a big scope. We want to work with this thing, with these companies, especially in Sun Mobility, where they have the biggest network available in the country and highest number of swap stations. For new ventures, I think I think there are a lot of ventures who are already starting to look at just individual batteries as service, charging infra as well, not limited to big DC charges, but also smaller scale AC charges, where because definitely while in 4-wheelers you need a lot of charging, and that's out of electricity. In 2-wheelers you actually do not. So focusing just on 2-wheelers on a smaller scale charger, which can fast charge an EV battery in like 40 minutes, 20 minutes, or to an hour. That's sort of a scope. Like I said, the riders behaviorally understand, and if there is a cost benefit for them, or if one more part is that if they don't have to go to one space, and if it is distributed, or the small charging stations are distributed over the space, so they know they have quite a few options, then they can definitely go and pick something of that sort. So that is a space where a lot of companies are working. Making chargers more smart. I mean, recently, one of these spaces that we had a dialogues session, I met quite a few new young founders who are now building on, the more smart chargers, which are much more smarter, using lesser energy, easier to produce, giving better results, IP ratings, the energy ratings. So that is a scope. I'm sure there's a lot working.
Yeah, I mean, in the EV infra space, there's probably a lot of scope for companies to start something and pick up. And probably now is the wave when it's really catching up. Just on the economics of taking a bike from you for a gig worker, because it's very important for people to understand. How much would a gig worker pay on a subscription model to you for a month, say for example, and what would be the cost savings versus a fuel scooter that you would otherwise use?
So definitely there is a cost saving. There are numbers which are all over there. From, say, for us it is between 150 to 200 rupees per day, based on the amount of
savings that the
subscription cost that they have to pay based on the kilometers that they want to run. So because it's energy, it's fuel based. So you want to run a little extra kilometers, there is a little extra battery required. So the price.
So let's say about 4,500 rupees to 6,000 rupees a month
is what we are looking at. Compared to a normal ICE engine machine, which will be probably between 9,000 to 11 to 12,000 rupees per month for the similar range that
For
they have.
subscription
For-
in that sense, or for the cost of running it.
Cost of running it. However, what I feel is that in today's time, I think it's no more between EV and ICE.
Mm-hmm.
That thought, especially in two-wheeler segment, is very much settled between and the gig workers or the daily community, mobility people. That thought is very much clear that EV is going to save them money. It's now more of whether you want to own an EV or you want to take it on subscription. So
Got it.
The new conversation is whether it is owning on EV or taking on a subscription. What makes a more economical sense as compared to, definitely ICE engines are selling. They are very small population, but for majority of the people, they know, like you said, that EVs are definitely going to save them cost. Definitely, if they have a substantial amount of running per day.
That's actually a point that I thought about. I studied in China for a bit, and in 2018, almost every third car, and probably now every second car in China, most of the EVs, most of the two-wheelers were EVs. In fact, when you spoke about charging, we were not allowed, or at least students who had EV scooters were not allowed to take batteries out and charge it in their rooms, because there were some cases of fire. And we're talking about 2018. I'm sure safety protocols have become much better. Batteries have become better. The infrastructure, because of the fact that two-wheelers there or EV cars there have become so ubiquitous, I'm sure the infra has also picked up. But do you see this now as a challenge of education, that a gig worker needs to be told that, hey, you will save some money? He or she probably already owns a bike or an ICE engine scooter. And is that a constraint? Because even the new two-wheelers sold in India, most of them are not really EVs today. Where do you see the gap? Why is this not getting across? Because if I'm a gig worker and my cost is about 50% lesser
Yes.
to run my operations, that is 3,000 rupees of saving, even if it's that every month. That's significant for me. If I'm making, let's say, 12,000, that's 25% extra money for me for the month. Where do you see the challenge? Is it education? Is it distribution?
If you look at this economic space, and just not if they want to work as a gig worker, they might just be going to college, or so this gives them an opportunity to easily have an access to a two-wheeler that they have disposable. So like the most important thing is like definitely owning in that typical part that is so much into part of our overall culture
And pride as well, that you own what you're riding.
Yes,
or you own a two-wheeler.
bike,
Yeah.
So own a bike, own a two-wheeler, to the fact that yes, now, so this is where a subscription model, our model, also gives them that, because they don't have to park it back. They take it back with them to home. So for me, the idea is that this guy has that machine as in his access. So when we were working to this organization called Azad Foundation, and there were a lot of women whom they were training for Sakha cabs they run in Delhi. They were also training because the initial just after COVID, they had all started to look at delivery, and they did not have two-wheelers. So one of our pride moment was when these women would take these vehicles and then take the scooter back home. And these are, humble spaces in Delhi. So which they might not be able to park. They have to go use MCD parking to park the vehicle and then walk back home. But the scooter, they could take almost to the, to their house or to their gully. And for them, it was like, where I work, I get a scooter.
Yeah. Okay. It's also a lot to do with pride, that I get a scooter where I work, or like even for that matter, that the clothes that I get, all of that sort of adds to the pride of what they do. And
what they do. And so I have a scooter, I have an access. So the scooter is like, the basic idea is that I have a key, and at any given point in time, the same scooter, before they leave for work, is used by the husband or them only to drop the children.
That's actually a fantastic point that no one would realize when you look at the economics of calculating EV versus anything. It's just about the pride of it. It's the fact that it's not just getting used for the work that they do, but for everything else, because there's one vehicle in the house to do everything that they need to do.
Yeah, I have this one collection in my phone. This is
Mm.
something I like when people say like, what do you, where is it that on Sundays, wherever, whichever city I am in, and if I see somebody traveling, so this is a collection that I have in my phone. Is when I click these pictures of it, if I see somebody using our scooters to travel with their families, with their wives, their girlfriends, if they are using that, and that was one very important thing that you said when we shifted from cycles to scooters back in 2020. This was one very important thing that we made it a point that what kind of machines that we introduce into our fleet is that it also is related to an appreciation in their own work.
Yeah.
So not to give them a scooter which is a small vehicle because सिर्फ delivery तो करनी है, but if you give them a machine which if a young guy takes that scooter, does his work, great work that he is doing, doing any sorts of delivery, but when he comes back home, he has to go out with his friends. He should feel like I can take the scooter. If he has to take his family out, there's a seat where he can go. So I have those pictures. That is something that I love.
Very, very good point. In fact, that's just fantastic. I mean, in fact, that's where the designer in Abhishek comes out, right? That's where customer empathy comes out, that you're not just designing it for the purpose that it is. You've understood the way, like the entire customer journey of you getting or of using that two-wheeler for family, for everything else that they use. Fantastic point. I mean, it's something that you get to learn only when you see it and when you see your product getting used. But just on a couple of points on just figuring out where is it that we can do something as government or as EV infra private players to expand this. Do you see anything that the government is doing? From what I read was that again the FAME 2 scheme with front-loaded subsidies or reimbursements that are often delayed. Those are challenges today. Where do you see the challenges that maybe at a policy level one can fix, or your suggestions on that front?
Yes, definitely. The FAME subsidy gave a lot of boost to the initial procurement of vehicles and had its own delays. We are a cash rich and a capital heavy business, so the delays in the scheme did impact. However, given operational issues, that it was a wonderful scheme. It did bring the EV into mainstream, the entire EV vehicle into the mainstream talk, so that this is how the EVs and EVs came on TV ads, and everyone started to realize, okay, this is also a machine that I can procure, and definitely the fact that it is much more affordable to use, procure and run. Going forward, I think somewhere if there can be some sort of a incentive or a scheme which is more related to the kilometers run or the fuel saved, if we can relate something on that sort of that, because all our machines are IoT enabled now, the batteries are all IoT enabled, so how many kilometers a machine is running, and if an incentive which is where it is directly used and the impact is direct, just not on how much time do you do to manufacture, or the setup that you have to put in, because that infra pretty much is in place. I'm not sure it's all in place, but it's pretty much in place, or is it on its own feet now? More and more adoption, and if that incentive comes in for the riders or anybody, that if I use it more, the usage becomes higher, and if that there can be an incentive scheme around that, that if on a per kilometer incentive that can be raised, and we run vehicles on a lot different numbers and scales, that will be really helpful for all of us, and that stays continuous as well.
Yeah, then that's a fantastic point, because essentially everything that is today getting used, EVs are a lower operational cost, maybe a higher upfront cost. So if you can subsidize the operational cost further, at least that incentivizes more and more people to start using it, and better for the environment, better for the economy, better for most employment, everything else, right? So just on that one, you see a lot of these EVs today that have we've heard all the famous or the infamous stories of batteries blowing up and safety norms and everything. What are some internal benchmarks that you would say in terms of downtimes or the kilometers that your vehicles should run? Have you seen a case which has worried you in terms of design or the safety of the vehicle? Has that ever happened, or just across the industry?
In terms of safety features, I think the policy becoming more and more stringent and everybody becoming much more aware. The number of lakhs or slack that anybody would put in while manufacturing, or also because people were not aware of the kind of damage that it can do, it is becoming much more stringent, and the machines are becoming uh, first of all, almost the batteries are becoming much more safer. The machines are definitely now the kind of say, for a matter that the kind of connector that we use, the kind of wiring harnesses that we use, the kind of other equipments that we use, they're becoming much and much better. That's one. On the product level, I think the products are also, say one thing, like now there are EV specific tires available. So now I know, because it's a hub motor, or so there is more traction on the rear wheel. So I would need a different kind of a tire than my regular ICE engine tire. So that sort of a product development has also started to come into picture. So that
Understood.
will also enhance just not the longevity. I mean, if as EVs, we would definitely need any vehicle to last more than 60 to 70 months.
Got it. That's something that you would say is a benchmark. 5 to 6 years is
Yes.
what you would say that an EV vehicle should last, because obviously it's in commercial use running a lot more, getting used a lot more, and then fair enough. But then with battery swapping, it could be a longer cycle as well, because the other parts of the scooter could stay for much longer. With battery swapping, the life could be longer as well.
Yes. So battery is a consumable asset. It's a fuel that will get consumed. However, that's where battery swapping or differentiating the fuel from the vehicle helps us, to enhance the longevity of a machine, because then the things that we have to focus upon becomes much more smaller, and also the repair and maintenance is much more focused. So I need to ensure that, this is my time, like in our subscription, it's an all inclusive subscription model that we have. So if anything that is otherwise consumable, we change it for free. So
Got it.
So for our users and for us also, then we are able to focus on the kind of products that we have to buy, right from the OEM to the spare parts that we have to focus upon. That becomes, so there's a big chunk and expensive chunk of the machine which has been taken care of the battery as a service provider.
Understood. I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper, a couple of questions on what EVeez is as a business today. I see that you're now offering a franchisee model also for investors to deploy bikes, earn monthly returns.
Yes.
How has that picked up? Where has that gone? Is that like, do you see like new risks here, or larger opportunities, better ways to expand?
On the risk part, I think that's an entrepreneur's life.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, those are definitely there. And as earlier I said, I often remember this thing, and I said this is someone's tattoo, is like obstacle is the way. So definitely there are risks. Coming back to the franchisee question, yes, it has picked up very well, and we are very happy with the kind of expansion that we are doing. We are already in 20 cities and growing almost 2 franchisees per month.
This is 20 cities with the franchisee model.
Okay. And if you see how do we plan for the risk mitigation as technology enabled. One most important thing, all our vehicles are IoT enabled. So anything that has to do with where the vehicle is, the locations and the pattern, the usage, all of that is recorded at a central database. While we train, there is a dashboard for all our franchisees. They can look at all the incomes and incentives and what are the spaces where are the vehicles being used. They can check that, or the monetary incentive part of it. We have central contracts with a lot of providers like Blinkit, Zomato, Swiggy, Zepto. All these guys. We have the contracts in place. So we provide central leads, so that makes their life much more easier. How to reach out to the new customers. Again, one key factor is my scooter is my billboard.
Good point. So you're essentially saying that you're training them, you're giving them distribution as well. So you're mitigating risk of them being successful and your scooter staying in the shape that you
Yeah.
want them to stay in.
Yeah, it's out there on the website as well. So I think the franchise models are different models where there are different numbers of vehicles that each and every franchisee partner has to have. And again, there we have vehicles that we have over the years figured it out are easier to maintain. We have enough and more, because people would not know that this is one learning that we have had key, okay, which is the interoperability of just not the batteries but also the spare parts. So what is the kind of so for a simple example, what is the size of a brake shoe that I'll pick up? Will I pick up 130 or will I pick 110
But on that one, just the economics of it, like if I were to take a franchisee
Yes.
of EVeez, what would it cost me? Like, let's say I want to start this in Delhi.
Yeah.
How does that look like? What's the...
So I think the initial investment is between 25 to 30 lakhs.
Okay.
Is what you have to invest, and then whatever you have to.
And what do I get for all of that?
So you get the entire access to the dashboard, the leads, service station. So the vehicle maintenance and insurance, because this is what we figured out is the key component and isn't that well explored. This is something that we feel as our core competency that we can offer to at any space, is that where we give vehicles, I mean the service, our own trained service, the entire app and the service mechanism and technicians and the tools and everything that we have, which is definitely over the years we've raised the standard of it. So that is an access that they get to, and we also give them the right the information about the kind of machine that has to go into, because the multiple kind of machines are there. So what is the machine that they should pick up, which is much more easier to maintain, much more easier, and has a better adaptability as well in the customers.
And what would be the payback period for this, say 25-30 lakh?
So this is between 3 to 6 years. That is based on the kind of investment and the kind of plan. City on definitely a bit of a difference in the city and location, which is a thing.
Understood. Perfect. No, I think we've covered a lot of ground. A couple of things that I wanted to understand about the business itself. I think environmental impact is one, but it also sort of becomes a financial inclusion tool, right? Like you mentioned, it gives people mobility, it gets them to work more, better, all of that reduces the cost, so they can probably work more. Any story that you particularly remember of maybe a gig worker or someone who took the bike and it became a financial inclusion tool for them, like it sort of at least had a marked impact in their economic life?
Yeah, like I was mentioning just now, that this is a true story that this lady who was trained under Azad Foundation, and when I went to see what is the now where's the progress and something, and she only told me that so the scooter is very good. My kids love it because when I take them to the school, and this is when I first time realized that the machine is just not. And the first time when she came back, when I went back to my society where I live, the mohalla where I was living, everyone came back here. You bought a new scooter. And that pride that I said, so that's one thing. One incident that is like way back, very initial days, COVID had stuck. A lot of people had economic strains, and as well. So there was this father who had come with his son. Not the very best of the starts that I would like to. This small anecdote is that he had come with his son, and this boy was in second year of his graduation, and the father had lost his job. There was not much that they were doing, so he said he will be able to do some work and bring some money because a lot of deliveries were happening. So can you? This is also still that same thing that father would take. We were also the first vehicle that you go, and also he had come, and I had a decent enough chat with, because I was there and we were not such a big team at that point in time. So I had a long chat with them, and then this boy definitely worked for around a year. Things got better. His father got back to a job. He returned the vehicle. But one thing is that he got an idea of how the delivery network works. And post his graduation, he joined one of the delivery companies. And then as an operations guy with, I think, one of these, quick commerce companies that he was working with, got promoted. So, and recently I met him. There was some sort of a cohort that was happening, and I met him, and he said, "You might not remember me, but this is what my story is. This is 5 years where I have been, and this is now I am working with one of the bigger, e-commerce giants." And he's like, I still remember, and I ensure that when my inputs go in, they go in favor of the delivery worker. It's just not Excel. It is just not all profits, because I also ensure that there is some incentive, or there's some sort of a point, because I have come from that space. So this is, I think, this for me, meeting such people is, and this is, I think, the kind of difference that we wanted to make.
No, fantastic. I mean, I think from what it started as Let's Play to what it is today, from the stories that you're saying, it's not just about economics, it's about pride, it's about so much more than what you've seen. But how are you measuring your success while running EVeez? Do you measure it in the economic impact that you've had? Do you measure it in the environmental impact? Do you track any matrix that you internally look at to see what impact you've created over the years?
Definitely, the economic impacts are there. The earning potential that a rider, they grow, the potential that they are, they're exposed to. We are in connect with a lot of our, partner companies which are into e-commerce or courier companies, where there is a bit of knowledge enhancement that happens. So these kind of people who work with us, and so like I know a lot of our current technicians were initially working as delivery partners. So these small anecdotes, so the matrices are currently majorly on the economic incentives that they have gained. This also environment matrices are definitely there.
Is there like headline numbers that you would want to share? How many people have used EVeez? What sort of economic impact it's had on their earnings, and maybe even the environmental impact that you've had?
So I think there's more than a lakh of CO2 liters of or cc of CO2
I was reading that, yeah.
Saved. We've had more than 25,000.
And just for people, to put it in context for people, what would that mean? Like in terms of how many trees would you have to plant to get that kind of saving?
That's a math that I'll have to look back at.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's
but it'll be in thousands.
Definitely in thousands. Definitely in thousands. So again, the idea is that you definitely, I'm not a very numbers man, but yeah, one of the things that I think one matrix would be that it has given an opportunity to a lot of people. The kind of trust building on this ecosystem has helped us a lot. So that's where I think.
And overall, would you have looked at how many people over the years have used EVeez? Like,
that number will definitely shoot up around 25 to 30,000 people.
Fantastic. I mean, it's 25 to 30,000. I'm going to count that as families and not people that you probably would have impacted. So
yes,
fantastic point on that one. What does it look like in the next 5 years? Have you given that a thought?
Oh, definitely, we are going to expand. We're going to definitely cover. By end of this year, our agenda is to cover at least 50 or more cities. We have to be in every state possible. That the work is there, and there is a demand. Definitely, there's a growing demand. We surely should cross, on above of 50,000 vehicles by end of this year. That's sort of procurement that is going on. The other collaborations that we are doing, that is also helping us a lot. Those are the
and you also see now a curve that is growing very, very fast from when you started to how EVs are picking up now. The infrastructure is picking up overall.
Definitely the curve is growing very fast. It is higher on the adoption is much more faster. As I said, that I now don't have to go and tell them that you'll save money.
Yeah, it's already understood by everyone.
It's more of the ideas that okay, if the EV is available, okay, then it's like, where is the EV available? How much can I make them? How many machines can I make available to a particular section?
Fantastic point, Abhishek. Switching to the personal side, who is Abhishek as a person? You told me you get up at 5 a.m. What do you do at 5 a.m.?
Oh, that I think has been coming from a Fauji family. That has always been the fact. I think I've always, that's what my father said. When you get up early, you have a bigger, longer day to do this. I usually go for a walk or a yoga session, whatever is on that day's schedule. So definitely a bit of time on health. Uh, Reading. I think. Over last 3-4 years, I've definitely at one point in I was also a lot on Instagram
Mhm.
and other apps. Now it's more shifted towards Twitter, and it's reading a lot. Definitely that
You read in the morning.
I read in the morning.
Is there anything you're reading right now, or anything that you really, really like or would recommend?
Uh, so there is this book about design justice.
Hmm.
This is a new thought process that has been that's been advocated across, is that how design and should involve, uh, just it should not be a policy or a top down approach for any kind of a policy or any kind of a framework, where the co-creation is very important.
Hmm.
So that's why design as justice, as a just aspect for even the users at the end of it.
Hmm.
So that is something that I'm very much interested in, that aspect of design. So that's something that I'm reading, and apart from that, anything that comes across, in any small books. I cannot do long reads, so small books under 100 pages. Yeah, that
And
is.
you would read like multiple things at a time, or do you finish one thing and then get to the other?
So for the multiple, it's the phone.
It's phone. That's where you consume
You
most of your.
consume most of it. But if there is a book, then it is only one book that I would like to finish. One, because I personally think I take a little longer. I am a slow reader.
Hmm.
I take a little longer to read and understand things. Fiction is not something. History is definitely that what I look. So if I read something and then I go back to the phone, and if I want to know something more, so that's something uh, that I like to read in the morning. Then there is my team. Now everybody in my team knows that my messages or responses to all the messages that they have, or if something that I've missed, start early in the morning. So
Uh-huh.
it's now they all understand that it's not necessary that I expect them to respond, but this is my response to them.
Yeah, it's the same problem I have. I start mailing very early in the morning or sometimes over the weekend. It just helps me start my morning. In fact, I do this over the weekend, that I
Yeah.
plan my next week over the weekend, and just helps me have a slow start. I also get up early, so I understand what you mean. But you mentioned yoga. Is it yoga? Is it meditation? Is it some life philosophy? What keeps you grounded? Because I'm guessing this is a business that will come with a lot of hassles every day, that you have to manage multiple cities, multiple lives that you touch every day, that would sort of keep you on the edge.
Oh, I would say riding a lot of motorcycles.
Uh-huh.
uh,
Like
and
that's how you meditate.
that definitely, but I would like, so when you say chaos and everything, don't want to name the brand, and definitely we all love it. It's the Indian answer to all the global brands. We've all owned that machine.
Mhm.
So very early age, I got into motorcycle riding, and that was the only machine available. We were traveling across the country. Uh, Traveled across lengths and breadths of this country. So the fact that of chaos is that would break down a lot.
Ah.
And the typical thing that if we would ride in groups, I belong to a community of motorcycle riding, I think, yeah, bullet riders in this country. That community is there. So if you ever see a breakdown, trust me, and I think that is something that now is the way to handle any kind of uh, problem area, is that we if there's a breakdown, we all chill out and they say figure out which is the nearest vada pav shop, because someone is waiting. First
So
thing
I'm
is
very okay with chaos now.
we're very okay with chaos. If there is a breakdown in the machine, first thing is everybody will laugh. Okay, something had to happen. So I think that over the years, one aspect, one thing is that you take yourself to the edge. So you get into that mode of taking that risk, so that becomes your comfort zone. So while you're going on the edge or going into the unknown territory, it does not bother you so much.
Mhm.
And if things go bad, you know that it will get sorted. It will get sorted is the approach. And so, yeah, definitely some great people, they're great philosophies. But if you ask me personally, I think that is where I draw all my philosophy from, is from those motorcycle breakdowns.
I've never heard this before. Like, you draw your inspiration or philosophy from motorcycle breakdown.
Yeah,
That's
because
something to remember.
Yeah, because that's the space where we build the best of our friendships. We have stories, like some days, when we sit down, all of us, 2011, some city, in Orissa, Andhra Pradesh border, some dhaba that we all remember, like 12, 15 of us, one bike broke down, and we were all just sitting there and then riding into the night. And we were young people. I surely tell nobody should ride in the night, but riding into the night because that was a big breakdown, or someone had a puncture, or traveling somewhere in, Aizawl, and close to Aizawl. I was traveling in Mizoram, and late in the night, and it wasn't actually late in the night. It was, sun was down at 8, and I had a small puncture. I mean, a big puncture on my bike, and I was like, dude, I don't want to do anything. I've ridden the whole day. I'll just park. And from nowhere, someone comes and he knows my friend, and then I load up the bike onto his truck and then take it. So I think also I've been very lucky. So with all the friends and all the people and all the kind of support that I have gathered. So when you say so things will go bad and they will come into shape. And if they actually go bad, you can't do anything.
That is such a good place to end on, Abhishek. Thank you so much for answering everything so candidly, sharing life philosophy. And I remember this, getting your life philosophy from motorcycle breakdowns. So I think that's something that everyone can take away. But thank you so much. Got to learn a lot about EVs, got to learn a lot about the EV sector itself, about your journey. And I think for most startup founders, it's also something to pick up on, that you start something that you really like, you see a challenge, you see a problem, you solve that, and then you don't know how and what shape and size it'll take over the years and what problems you'll end up solving. So more power to you and more challenges that you solve for in the very important space that you work in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek.
Pleasure.